What if I were to tell you there's a quarterback who was drafted in the 4th round at pick 135 who actually had a better rookie season than Peyton Manning, who was the first overall draft pick in 1998? Plus, we're going to be addressing some of the negative comments in the comments section.
You suck!
And as a bonus, I'm going to give you my prediction for who is going to be the main free agency signing for the Las Vegas Raiders, as well as who we're going to draft in the 1st round. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so we just got to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, which is Earth Elixir, owned and operated by a proud Raiders fan. They have great supplements at great prices, and I'll leave a link down there in the description. You know what to do. All right, now that we got the kids out of the house, let's get down to business. We're talking about Aidan O'Connell. And yeah, there's some lovers of Aiden, and there's some haters of Aiden. Me, I'm on the fence. I'm a wait-and-see kind of guy, but I'm also a stats kind of guy. So I like looking at stats, and I like comparing. I know that doesn't always translate to the reality on the ground, but it's fun to do. So let's jump into it. Aidan O'Connell in his rookie season, we have to admit, was by far a terrible situation. Being thrown into the Los Angeles Chargers game and being forced to throw the ball 39 times in his rookie debut with no offensive line help and a head coach in Josh McDaniels, who seemed to relish in getting his quarterbacks destroyed, certainly didn't have a great outing. But if you take that one off of the table and just look at what he was able to do throughout the season, you'll see that he actually did better than Peyton Manning. Am I saying he's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback? No, I'm not. But they also said the same thing about Peyton Manning after his first season. As a rookie, Peyton Manning did horrible. He had a rating of just 71.2 by the end of the season, whereas our guy, Aidan O'Connell, had a rating of 83.9. Now let's look at the number of games played. Peyton Manning, coming into the Indianapolis Colts as the number 1 overall pick, had an entire offseason and camp to get prepared for the season. He was the number 1 starter from the gate. While he did set a record for most yards by a rookie at the time, he also set a record for most interceptions in a season for 28, only throwing 26 touchdowns. Peyton Manning played like a rookie. Actually, he played out of his mind like a rookie. He threw for 3,700 yards, setting a record at the time for any rookie quarterback. He also set another record, which wasn't so good, and that was 28 interceptions in his first season. Yes, he threw 26 touchdowns, but guys, he threw more picks than he did touchdowns in his rookie season. And all the talking heads were calling him the greatest draft bust in the past 20 years. Now, Peyton Manning played for 16 games in that season, a whole regular season. Now we play 17 games. He played 5 more games than Aidan O'Connell did. If Aidan O'Connell were to have played an additional 5 games, given his average yards per game, touchdowns, and interception ratio, he would have had a very similar year to Peyton Manning with half, and I say half, of the interceptions that Peyton Manning had. So let's look at Aidan O'Connell. Aidan O'Connell had a 62.1% completion rating compared to Peyton Manning's 56.7. Again, another stat where AOC excelled in his rookie year over the Hall of Fame quarterback, Peyton Manning. He also threw 343 times compared to 575 times of Peyton Manning. He had 2,218 yards in his rookie season. If he had played an additional 5 games, averaging 250 yards per game, he would have added an additional 1,250 yards to those totals, making his yardage very close to what Peyton Manning had. But he would have still come up just short, so we'll give 1 point over to Peyton Manning for that. However, when it comes to average yards thrown, they were tied at 6.5 yards per pass attempt. Now, Aidan O'Connell ended up with 12 touchdowns and 7 picks. If he would have continued his average as he was progressing through the season, he probably would have ended up with 20 touchdowns and 10 picks. Not the 26 touchdowns that Peyton Manning had, but also not the 28 interceptions that Peyton Manning had. So 1 point to Peyton Manning for that, but 2 points over to AOC for having half of the interceptions. Now another point's got to go over to Peyton Manning for sacks. In the entire season, he only got sacked 22 times, whereas with 5 games less, AOC got sacked 24 times. The issue is you have to look at defenses as well as offensive lines from 1998 to 2023. The defensive ends in 2023 are much more athletic, and the pass pressure in the NFL today is probably 10 times higher than it was in 98. The reason is because in 1998, it was more of a run-heavy league, and so the defenders were a lot slower, especially the defensive tackles. Now we have defensive tackles who run a 4.5. We have defensive ends who run a 4.5, making it very difficult for quarterbacks not to get sacked. Even Patrick Mahomes takes a lot of sacks. So in that regard, we can't really hold it against AOC that he got sacked more times with less games than Peyton Manning. Plus, if you take out the first outing of AOC against the Chargers, where he threw the ball 39 times and had zero help from offensive tackle Jermaine Illuminor against Khalil Mack, take out those 7 sacks, and he actually didn't do too bad. So as you can see, Aidan O'Connell's rookie year was not big, it was not flashy, it was not amazing. But neither was Hall of Famer Peyton Manning. If you're going to take shots at AOC for not making the playoffs, then why aren't you taking shots at Peyton Manning? They went 3-13 under his rookie tenure. We have to be fair to AOC. We have to be fair to the Raiders. And at the end of the day, we are Raiders fans. So everybody that's dropping all these negative comments saying how I don't know football and I don't watch football and I'm an idiot and I'm this and I'm that, because I'm simply trying to be fair to our quarterback, and I'm not riding a jockstrap of an Anthony Richardson or Will Levis who does not play for the Raiders, and I care more about our team. So for everybody that's hating on AOC and the Raiders starting quarterback while claiming to be Raiders fans, I say to you, sir, good day. The train is leaving and you can stay behind, because we don't need fans like that. I support my starting quarterback. And if Coach AP says someone else is the starting quarterback, I'm going to support him. It's AOC until it's not AOC. End of story. So go drop comments of support for the Colts and Anthony Richardson, since you guys all seem to love him so much more than your own starting quarterback. Now that I got that off the table and off of my chest, because it's really been bugging me to see so-called fans hating on their own starting quarterback and their own team that they're supposed to love, let's move on to my predictions of who I think the Raiders are going to grab in the free agency as well as in the first round of the draft. First, starting off with the free agency, which is just a few days away from the excitement of bringing in upgrades and talent to the Raiders. First and foremost, the Raiders need to go after Christian Wilkins of the Miami Dolphins, a stud defensive tackle that will certainly put our defensive line, that will certainly make our defensive line top tier. The next guy I want to see us go after is Kendall Fuller. He's an awesome cornerback coming out of Washington. In fact, he was one of the only bright spots over there in Washington. He's going to be available, and he's certainly not going to be as expensive as a L'Jarius Sneed would have been. So I think we can afford both of these guys, and that plugs 2 major holes that we have on the defense. Over on the offensive line, I don't think that we're going to be able to grab too much in the free agency. I think we should probably just re-sign our own guys, and then if we're able to, draft some depth and some backup in this upcoming draft. Now, speaking of the draft, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do in the first round. There's one of 2 things that we could do, and here's what I think is most likely. First, we're going to stay at 13, possibly even trade back and grab a Michael Penix Jr. or a Bo Nix or a J.J. McCarthy. It's just going to be way too difficult and way too expensive to move up and grab the fan favorite, Jaden Daniels. However, there is always a world where crazy things happen and we move up and grab Jaden Daniels. If that happens, I think it's most likely going to be with the Patriots. I've said this before, and I can't wait for the draft to happen so we can see if I was right or wrong. But that's the dream team. If we can get Jaden Daniels and we have Aidan O'Connell battling it out for who's going to be QB1 in 2024, and we bring in a cheap veteran, say maybe a Russell Wilson, so that we can slap Denver in the face for paying his salary to sit on the bench or maybe even start and defeat them, that would be a great situation for the Raiders. One thing I would like to see us do also is in the draft, pick up a wide receiver like Franklin from Oregon or Brendan Rice from USC. We need some more wide receiver depth. We can't just rely on Devontae Adams, be double teamed all the time, and still dominate in the NFL. He has to have some help over on the other side. Jacoby Myers is fantastic in the slot, but what we don't have is a true number 2 wide receiver. I hope you guys found this entertaining and fun, and if you did, leave a positive comment. And if you got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all, because we don't care. It's Raiders all day, every day. Just win, baby.